Cents Per Mile, featuring Charles Gracie, Paul Gibson, and Josh Haynes. Everyone knows the trucking industry has issues, but most people are afraid to talk about it.
Someone's got to do it.
With loads of recruiting and marketing experience and backed by the largest driver audience in the world, we deliver carriers the driver perspective, find solutions, and help make sense make sense.
Welcome to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
And I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. Yep. What are we talking about today, Charles?
We're talking, it's our 100th episode. We're talking new, K-N-E-W, new as in N-E-W, and news. You know, the stuff that CDLLife highlights every week and day on their website.
New news.
New news.
New news. That sounds like we are ripping off Travis Kelce and his brother. But that's fine. So yeah, it's our 100th. Wow, we've done this 100 times.
Right?
That is insane.
The journey? Can we just take a moment to talk about the journey there?
We absolutely will, because that's what we knew. So we'll get there. But before that, we have to do the stuff we do every single time.
Got to pay the bills.
Yeah, we do. If you, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, if you watch us on YouTube, wherever it is, we're there. You can like, subscribe, rate, and that'll push us out further so we can do a lot more cool stuff like what we have coming up in season 5, which starts next week.
You can also go to centspermilepodcast.com. You can suggest a topic to be a guest or even to become a sponsor.
Sponsor? Who's our sponsor today, Charles?
MyCarrierPortal. Trusted by brokers, preferred by carriers, Descartes' MyCarrierPortal is the industry's #1 onboarding and fraud prevention platform. Less friction, more trust, faster onboarding. That's Descartes' MyCarrierPortal. Go to check them out at www.mycarrierportal.com.
All right. Well, since news is part of Make Sense this week, we're going to go ahead and cut straight to Behind the Desk with Tenstreet.
Do you want to grow your fleet but get buried by paperwork, slow hiring processes, and outdated systems, all while struggling to comply with changing safety regulations? Enter Tenstreet, the all-in-one platform that simplifies driver lifecycle management by bringing marketing, recruiting, onboarding, safety, and retention together in one place. Tenstreet coordinates and streamlines all your operations. Post to dozens of job boards at once. Speed time to hire with pre-population and AI to get more full applications faster, and manage the entire post-hire process, from cutting costs with online onboarding, to integrating all safety data into one dashboard, to improving retention through thoughtful engagement. Whether you have one truck or 1,000, our expert team is here to help. Sleep soundly knowing you can pass an audit, attract needed drivers, and achieve your business goals. Join the thousands of carriers using Tenstreet. Sign up for a demo today.
Trusted by brokers and preferred by carriers. Descartes' MyCarrierPortal is the industry's most reliable onboarding and fraud prevention platform. Carriers save time and win more freight, while brokers gain confidence through verified partners. Experience greater discoverability in your customer's carrier network with our easy-to-use system. Less friction, more trust, faster onboarding. That's Descartes' MyCarrierPortal.
That was great, but now it's time to make sense. And let's talk about what we knew. The show, it's come a long way.
Yeah. I mean, we knew things and then we talked about them. And then
there was things we didn't know.
We have learned a lot along the way. And now those are things we knew. Cool. So I guess that's enough wordplay.
Or no, those are things we know, not new. New would imply we knew them before we learned them.
Yeah, that's true. And that's next. So
English here on Cents Per Mile.
Yep. Things are tense, past tense, future tense, present tense. Presently not tense though. Do miss Josh.
That's a recent. You do.
That's a recent.
That's like news, not new. That's like news.
Yeah, it's something we knew. We knew that he was leaving. And we knew he wouldn't be here today.
Now we know he's not here.
But we will see him next week when we are at the Broker Carrier Summit, which next week you'll actually see some of our coverage from that.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun time. And anyone that's going to be in Indy at the Broker Carrier Summit should definitely find us. We're not hard to find. You should definitely stop by, say hi, take a picture, share it, jump on the show, have a chat. Let's talk trucking.
Yep, we'll just be there set up and you can come talk to us. But yeah, so I mean, I guess one thing we knew going into all of this when this started was we knew the industry had issues.
No short supply of those.
Absolutely not. And we knew that there really wasn't a good go between the driver perspective and the carrier perspective. So I think the goal was to, give the driver perspective a voice to the back of the industry.
Well, it's about sharing those perspectives in order to find a solution. We've talked about it many times. It's the whole premise and foundation of the show is get as many perspectives out there on different issues, connect those perspectives in an effort to find a solution. And I'm not saying I have the solution. I know you aren't either. But at least if we can share those perspectives and get each other's concerns out there, we might have a chance of finding one.
Well, and I think that's what the whole thing is about. I mean, you of all people, and me of all other people, I guess, would know. Sometimes it pays to be a little disruptive.
A little?
A little.
That was the most underspoken thing I've ever heard you say.
Yeah. Trying to get 2 hot takes this early. Got plenty of them coming up. But it's kind of the idea that it's been crazy because it felt like there wasn't really a voice in the room. It felt like there were a lot of Band-Aids and nobody wanted to talk about the actual problems. And we knew there were problems and everybody knew there were problems, but there wasn't really a lot of people out there talking about the actual problems and not the symptoms.
Well, I mean, it's easier to go talk about the problems and repeat the problems and keep repeating the problems and never find a solution because that's what it's always been like. And that's what everyone wanted to keep it like. But through having these conversations, we found that there's actually people out there that want to find the solution and move forward to something that's better and give a better experience to the drivers, to the carriers, and to the shippers and receivers.
Yeah. I mean, that's been what's nuts to me is there's so many things that I was like, this is a problem. Nobody's talking about it. Like pay, various other things, and then actually finding people who are actively working to change those things, which would then solve the symptoms that trucking had been trying to cure and actually solve the root problems, which is pretty cool to know that there are a lot of people out there. But then there's also a lot of problems that I don't think will ever get fixed. Which actually leads us to our first article. It's from CDLLife. It is titled "Everything Sucks About This." It says maybe the world's grumpiest driver. And there's a driver who posted a video on Facebook.
Sucks. I've been doing this for 30 freaking years or whatever, and if you want to get into this industry, go somewhere else or whatever, because the rates suck, the people suck, the traffic sucks, everything sucks about this. The only reason why I'm still doing it is because I only got like 2 years left to retire. That's all I have to say about that.
So what they can do?
What can they do? Raise the rates, lower the fuel, try to be a little bit more courteous on the road. I mean, we got a big 80,000-pound vehicle going down the road, and a freaking guy comes along and just cuts you off within 5 feet of your bumper. What are you supposed to do?
You're talking about the small cars or?
Yeah, the four-wheelers, the regular cars, yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, sir.
No problem.
But, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, it's giving a voice to the people on the road. And I mean, that guy's been out there for 30 years. I mean, you've done it.
Yeah, well, and I don't do it anymore. So what's that tell you? If it was so sexy, I'd still be out there. But listen, this is what it's all about. Like hearing these perspectives, trying to find a way to make it appealing again, because we're going to find ourselves, if not have already found ourselves, in the conundrum of how do we make this appealing when people are raising wages on competing fronts of warehousing and other jobs where people don't have to be a rolling lottery ticket. People don't have to be away from their families and make that kind of sacrifice. That's the type of conversations we've had, and we've had lots of them, lots of great takes, lots of great solutions. So now we leave it up to the audience's hand to sit there and form a conclusion and go out there and voice their opinion.
Well, I mean, we'll still cover it, but that also kind of reminds me, what you just said reminds me of, I think, the hottest take I think I've ever had on the show. I actually
Broker
think
transparency.
no, that was Paul from Free Caviar that is communism, and then Sage saying it's Paul said it was socialism, Sage said it was communism.
Yeah.
And then Robert Beard started calling everybody comrade. No, and I even tried to clear it with you. I remember before I said it, and you were like, I don't know. But it was the idea that, like, you know, we've obviously trashed the concept of the driver shortage and all that, you know, in various ways with various things to back it up, because we don't just trash things, we show why we're complaining about it,
And then we trashed them.
Yeah, for sure, because we got proof. So what are you gonna do? I remember the episode where I dropped the idea that through regulations, through all these things, through not raising the pay, but still like making the job harder, that we are in fact actually manufacturing a driver shortage over time.
Wait, hold on now. We've talked about this, but you mean it's not appealing to make the process for a driver to get a job and work for you equivalent to making Flipper do a backflip while bouncing a red ball on his nose through a burning hoop?
Right.
Okay, cool. As long as we're on the same page. I just wanted a temperature check.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things, I think. And I mean, we'll be here to cover it for sure. But it just feels like we're not. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do and a lot of questions to be asked. And we'll be here to do that because, you know, we know what we knew. And now we know what we know.
And now it's time to talk about what's new.
Yep. So as far as new goes, we mentioned it earlier, Broker Carrier Summits next week. The week after that is the Tenstreet User Conference.
Yeah. That's going to be some fun stuff. So Paul and I will be in Indy for the Broker Carrier Summit, trying to bring you the best and the brightest of the industry coming together. And I know when you hear brokers and carriers, it's the beginning of a bad bar joke. But it's actually pretty cool stuff happening over there. Great conversations, and we're going to try to bring it all to you. And then following that, I get to go to Vegas again. Viva Las Charles. It's going to be a good time. Tenstreet's always a good conference. A lot of executives coming together, different side of the industry. Paul's not going. So I will do my best to, have just as much fun without Paul as I would if he was there.
You going to take the banana costume?
No.
Come on.
No.
All right. Fair enough. Well, hopefully, for your sake, as gross as it is, your inability to lose when you gamble. Do you eat rabbit's feet for breakfast or something like that?
No, it's the Irish in me.
I guess so. Must have that horseshoe up somewhere real far. But the things that are new this year.
Ooh, I got this. I got this.
Oh, you got this?
Yeah. Workhound acquired by Workstep.
Oh, yeah, that did happen.
That happened. So exciting news that came out on April 23rd was Workhound is joining forces with Workstep today. When they announced it, marked a significant milestone for the Workhound story. They're proud to announce the acquisition by Workstep, leading AI-powered employee engagement platform dedicated to empowering frontline organizations. You can find more about this on LinkedIn from the Workhound and Workstep sites. But it's very interesting to see that. We know that this year has been a struggle for a lot of people. A lot of different reasons, a lot of different fronts. The industry has been taking a hit. And we knew going into this that acquisitions, mergers were going to be a big player in this. And we also knew closures were going to be a big player in this. So I'm interested to see how this matures over time and what it means for the Workhound and Workstep client base.
Yeah, well, and hopefully, we haven't talked to him yet, but hopefully, congratulations.
Yeah, huge congratulations to our guy, Max Farrell. I mean, that guy is just great people. It's great to see good things happen to good people.
Yeah, you want to talk, you want to have a conversation about truck drivers and labor, that's a guy to talk to for sure.
Absolutely.
I am absolutely here for it. Every time I hear him speak, it just blows my mind. Yeah.
And there's some big news. I've been hitting on it online for the past month. I'm still not ready to tell everyone, but it's some big news. We're about to make some big waves. And just follow us, pay attention to what I'm posting on social media, and should, within the next week or so, know more about it.
All right. So I'm going to tell you something, and hopefully we'll cut this and post it as a clip for everybody who's following Charles's breadcrumbs. I know what it is. And man, are some of these hints so corny. Wow.
They had to be out there enough where people wouldn't be able to connect the dots, but would get excited.
I just want to poke fun at him right now, but I can't. Yeah. So, I mean, so the industry, yeah. I mean, I think we were talking about that, like before we got on. It is interesting to see kind of the difference between the way things had gone in previous kind of economic cycles like this versus how things have been the past like couple of years, and how it seems like they're accelerating depending on the day and the last thing that was said in a press briefing. But
24-hour news cycle.
Yeah,
good for business if you're in media.
For real. Yeah, no, I mean, things from our last episode are already different, and the day that last episode aired were different then, so they're probably different now when you're watching.
Changed why we were talking.
For sure. I don't have X pulled up, but I'm sure. But yeah, it is crazy to see that like there have been, versus like previous periods of time, there have been a lot more acquisitions than companies like failing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
comparatively,
it's a quick growth pattern. If you look into that, I can go out there and try to strategically grow my business over time. Or in a market like this, I can go acquire another business and instantly scale my business and my reach and. So it's one of those things, if it's done strategically, it's a great move for the company being acquired. They generally gain more capital and a little bit more to the bottom line, and someone gets to cash out, and the company doing the acquiring just gained an entirely new revenue source in some regards, or book of business in others.
Yeah, I guess it's just it seems more prevalent now than it did like a few years ago, I guess.
You know who's a really good conversation on that? John Larkin.
He probably, yes, that would be
the
a
man,
great
the
person
myth, the legend. When it comes to these kind of conversations, he definitely throws his weight in the ring and can talk about these things for days.
That's true.
But
it's because it's definitely, I feel like it's felt like a few years ago, it felt like there were a lot more people who would just let other companies collapse and then just grab their market share. But now it seems like there's more companies actually just.
Well, that's the
grabbing.
asset-based side of trucking that does that.
Yeah.
You can get those dirt cheap and acquire someone else's bad decisions. But on a SaaS or business level outside of the trucking asset based, this is generally what you see in a market like this. And it's interesting to see it unfolding because people are like holding out their judgment. It's not going to happen. No, it's definitely happening. It's happening right now in real time. And it's going to continue to happen this year. Someone's pain becomes someone else's gain.
Mm-hmm. But it's going to be better for everybody eventually, right, Charles?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
We're making trucking great again.
Oh my God. I feel like we need
that back for you.
Anybody, if you are watching this, let me know in the comments if you just want a whole episode of Charles saying something and then saying something else later. I got a few lined up. But real quick under the new, just to touch on it real quick. Speaking of, it seems like they're doing something. There is a new grant for a $150 million new port of entry, a little bit inland, down in San Diego. That's supposed to have a lot more advanced, basically a lot more advanced technology as far as basically checking out the vehicles and inspecting everything so they can catch a lot more supposedly.
Go Sean Duffy.
Yep. Should have been Craig Fuller.
Right? Can you imagine the exclusives if it was Craig Fuller on them?
We might
think
even
about it.
We might even been one of those podcasters that made it into the White House press briefing.
Yeah, that's a reach.
You can just like swap out with Dooner. It'd be fine.
I mean, last year you were taking a picture next to Craig in a banana costume. There's no way you were making it into the White House, my guy. As your friend, I say this from a place of caring.
What, like me wearing a banana costume? Like there aren't crazier things that are happening there in particular. In the press briefing room, not even necessarily the administration, just everything around all of that is a mess. Either that or I'm just tired. But anyway, it's time to get into the news. Yeah. Yep. So I think one of the first story that we got, this year with the news, it has been nonstop. Just like shotgun 24-hour news cycle.
The tariff news has been nonstop recently.
Yeah,
every time you think it's fallen to the wayside in the press or the media, then all of a sudden it's back.
Well, I mean, the news has been nonstop. It's just all you end up hearing about is the tariff news because that's the biggest one that's affecting everybody. Which is why we end up talking about it, because everything we talk about is affected by that, because it affects the entire supply chain. And like, Thomas Watson was talking about, this is some of the biggest like peaks and valleys in such a short amount of time that, like, honestly, like recruiting, I'd imagine recruiting truck drivers or moving freight, whatever you're doing, is going to almost vary week to week on what is best practices based on what's happening.
Well, and on the article that we have for today, so President Trump got a scare from CEOs and markets on Monday. That would have been the 21st, signaling a softer stance on China and retreating from the fiery rhetoric targeting the Fed. Why that matters? The president is resolute in his goal of reshaping the economy, but he's also sensitive to the movement of the markets and the pleas of powerful corporate leaders and investors who fear the worst from the sweeping efforts. You had CEOs from three of the nation's biggest retailers, Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, privately warn him that the tariffs and trade policies could disrupt supply chains as a whole, raise prices, and empty shelves, according to sources that are familiar with the meeting that took place. The big box CEO flat out told him that the prices aren't going up. They're steady right now, but they will go up. And this wasn't just about food. That shelves will be empty, and the administration officials that were in the office reported it. Another official briefed on the meeting that CEOs told Trump's disruptions could become noticeable within 2 weeks even. So while that was happening, the financial markets were slumping. Stocks, bonds, and the dollar as investors panicked over the oust Fed chair, Jerome Powell, and step on the central bank's independence. He even had the Treasury Secretary and his press secretary tell him himself that trade talks with China were imminent, starting on a good foot, and that would result in a deal with much lower tariffs than the current 145%.
Yeah. And I think one thing that someone pointed out that I saw was like people look at the supply chain in like COVID and like toilet paper being out and stuff like that. I mean, there was a little bit of a manufacturing slowdown, but a lot of that was panic buying. You ran into it with like the lumber and stuff, but that was kind of over time. This is like you're not just like cutting off manufacturing and slowing that down. You are literally cutting off the supply for a lot of it. And it's
scary. And we've seen people's tune. Like a lot of people were on board with the tariffs in the beginning. They thought it'd become a part of a negotiating tactic, a bigger picture. And you're seeing a lot of those tunes change. Like if you just get an X for 20 minutes a day, you'll see those tunes change. We've heard some of the biggest voices out there on this stuff change their stance and realize that there's bigger implications here than just let's get to the deal table. There's some implications that are immediately impacting every facet of business on the American transportation and supply chain sides.
Yep. It's like sometimes the light is on, sometimes the light is off, but right now it feels kind of like a strobe light. But real quick, just to lighten the mood, one thing that I've always been poked fun at by Josh when he was here, well, one of the main things, and by Charles, is when I pick news stories, for some reason, I just gravitate a lot of times to the drug busts. It's been a while.
Do tell us, Paul.
We've grabbed other things. So $9 million worth of cocaine seized following commercial vehicle traffic stop on I-40 in Tennessee, task force says.
Way to go, Tennessee.
It's the second record break, or you got a lot of people buying. Yeah, I don't know that's a flex.
They stopped him.
Yeah, they stopped him, but it was on its way. Somebody ordered it.
Hey, crimes were being committed in all the comics for Batman, but he stopped them. There would be no superheroes if there was no one trying to commit the crime.
Yeah, I think these people are probably also ordering these because they had issues with their parents. But right, so nonetheless, yeah, so they got it. But the driver had no idea. It was actually packaged in what was loaded on his truck. So the driver's good. The driver's not, there wasn't any funny business there. Me personally, one of the things that kind of got me, I don't really know much about prices of certain things. With being approximately 200 pounds, they said it was $9 million estimated street value, but $2,250,000 wholesale. And I was like, oh, okay, wait, what? You know,
those
like
margins are hefty, my guy.
Right, but like you can prescribe certain things, but like doctors maybe back in back in the day prescribed cocaine, but they can't do that anymore. So how can you buy cocaine wholesale? How do you what? Like, you know, is that just based off the amount of fentanyl they think is in there? Because that's a current drug that you can, but like how you can buy drugs wholesale. I was today years old when I found that out. I don't know where you buy it. I don't.
And we don't want to know where you do it.
I don't.
If anyone's listening and they have the answer, we do not want to know. Paul might seem intrigued. He does not need to know this information.
I do. I want to know it just to know it. You know, because I can't go drop in $2.25 million on 200 pounds of that. But it's crazy. Like what? Because I
thought the more interesting part of this was one of the rare occurrences where the driver immediately was exonerated from being guilty. I'm guessing that means that this was sealed. It was taken care of at a warehouse or shipping level.
It was, and we'll put the picture up on the screen real quick. But yeah, they're like these blue sealed boxes with a T on it with a heart. You know, maybe because they love Tennessee, that's where it was going. Not the flex you thought it was at the beginning of the story, huh, Charles? Right. Yeah. So
that's not the Tennessee style T. So no.
Right. Some people think that tea is pretty sweet. But yeah, it's in these blue boxes. It's got a T on it with a little heart, and it's vacuum sealed. So the driver had no idea what was in these containers. He was just picking up, doing his job. And I guess this is not the first time that they had ran into that packaging. So they knew immediately what the situation was.
Yeah, and huge shout out to West Tennessee's Drug Task Force on this one. It's great to see these things not only get stopped before they hit the communities, but even better to see that people are understanding that sometimes drivers don't know what's back there. I pulled plenty of trailers that were sealed, and I just hooked them and pulled them. So kudos for them pulling that off, and the driver not being implicated into this, because we often know the drivers take the blunt of it up front and have to prove they're innocent down the line, and that's a huge detriment to their career.
Drivers take the blunt of it?
Yeah.
For real? The blunt? Yeah. Cool. Anyway.
Hey,
all right. Well,
it wasn't a load of marijuana.
This time. That time with the lime wrapping paper.
I was just thinking the same thing. Remember the wrapping paper one?
I do. But we're going to run to an ad real quick.
All right. Well, it's been 100 episodes. It's been an honor, a privilege, and thank you for tuning in. But it's time to get out of here. So thanks for tuning in to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
Yeah, this is nuts. We wouldn't be here without you guys. I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. See you next time.